What? Can I see? Holy moly, dog.
See, it's nectar.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the farmhouse. Today we are going to be making strawberry jam, and it's perfect timing because I just ran out of strawberry jam last week and it is strawberry season. So let's hop right into making this strawberry jam. So I would love to always buy strawberries organically and visit local farms and pick our own strawberries, but sometimes that just is not an option, and this is one of those times. So kind of short on time this year for strawberries and making jam. So I ended up just picking up strawberries at the grocery store, and they were on sale, so it was kind of nice. You can tell they were not red all the way through, but it still made very, very good jam. So I started by taking the strawberries and cutting them into quarters. I used 3 containers for this recipe, and I believe each container is like 16 ounces if I remember correctly. So 3 of them will make 1 batch of strawberry jam. So I cut off the stems, cut them into quarters, and throw them all in my food processor. And then I use the food processor to puree them, just puree them up. You need 6 cups of crushed pureed strawberries to make 1 patch of strawberry jam. And I use the Sure Gel low sugar, it's the pink box pectin. So that is what I use for our jam recipes. Once everything is pureed up, in a separate bowl, I put 4 cups of white sugar. Having everything pre-measured out is very helpful for this because once you start making the jam, the process goes really quick. So having everything measured out is very helpful. So that's why I'm putting it into a separate bowl. We also keep all of our sugar and flour and all of that in food grade 5-gallon buckets. I'll leave a link below for the buckets that we use. It's a great way to buy in bulk, make it last longer, and just save some money. So once I have everything measured out, I do a 1/4 cup of sugar in a large stock pot. Always go bigger than what you think you will need. That is what I have learned, and I've learned from experience. And then I dump in 1 package of Sure Gel into the pot. From there, I'm going to add in our 6 cups of strawberry puree or crushed strawberries. You want to use a dry measuring cup for this. That's just what the directions tell you. So even though it is a liquid, you're going to use a dry measuring cup. So I measure out 6 cups of strawberry puree, crushed strawberries. It ended up being exactly what I had, a little bit less than what I had in the food processor, but it worked out perfectly. So put that into the stock pot, and from there, then I put it on the stove over medium to high heat, and I stirred in all of the sugar and pectin to get it started. And then I'm going to leave this on medium to high heat, and I want it to come to a roaring boil. And that is a boil that when you stir, it doesn't knock down. It takes a little bit of time. You can turn the stove up higher. I find that it goes too quickly if I turn the stove up too high, and I'm not there to monitor and watch it. So I like a medium high. And then while I'm waiting for that to come to a boil, I am prepping my jars in my canner. So I have a large canner and a Camp Chef cook stove that we keep outside, which is where I do most of my canning, like the whole processing part. All the links for all of my canning supplies will be below for you. But so in the canner, I am putting my pint jars and water to get them to start to come up to temperature and to sterilize. We do all of our jams in pint jars. We are a large family, and we just go through it faster, so it's easier to do them in pints. And for storage purposes, it doesn't take up as much space as a bunch of little half pints. So all of our jams are done in pints. So once the mixture has come to a roaring boil, I am going to pour in the rest of the sugar. I find that doing this slow and stirring as you go does help. What can happen and what sometimes does happen is when you pour the sugar in, the mixture starts to bubble and like rise. And this is where you can make a mess. I've done it before, which is why I said you need to pick like the largest stock pot you have, just to kind of cut down on that mess. So I'm going to dump in all of the sugar. I'm going to stir it up really, really good. And then I want the mixture to come to a boil again. Now, before I didn't stir it as much. Now I really want to make sure that I am stirring it every couple of minutes, not even minutes, less than minutes, probably like every 30 seconds. I want to make sure that I'm stirring it so that it doesn't burn to the bottom of the pan. And I also want to make sure that it doesn't like completely boil over. So I am stirring it. Once this mixture comes to a roaring boil again, you want to set a timer for 1 minute, and you want it to boil for 1 minute, stirring constantly to make sure, again, that it doesn't burn and it doesn't boil over. And make sure you do the full minute. This is what's going to ensure that you are getting the mixture up to the proper temperature and so that it will set. Once it has boiled for 1 minute, you want to turn it off and remove it from the heat. And then it is now time to put it into your jars. So I've gotten the jars out of my canner and put them on a towel on our kitchen cabinet. And I am going to start to ladle this mixture into the jars, leaving about a ½ inch of headspace in each jar. If you are doing 6 cups of crushed strawberries and 4 cups of sugar, you get just about 4 pints. So it works out perfectly when you are measuring. So I will fill all of these up. I will make sure that I wipe the rims. And while I'm filling these up, I have my lids and my bands in a bowl of hot water, just getting sterilized and getting it so that that like rubbery plastic on the lids is pliable so that when you put it on the jars, they seal really well. So fill them up and then make sure you wipe the rims off. And then from there, you can put your lids and your bands on. When you are putting your bands on, you want them to be finger tight on the jar so that it starts a good seal. Once you have all of the lids and bands on, you want to transfer the jars back into your canner. Make sure that you have at least 1 inch of water over the top of the jars if you have to just add hot water back into your canner. And then you want the canner to come to a boil again. Doesn't take very long. Once the canner is boiling, you're going to set a timer for 10 minutes. This is going to process for 10 minutes. This is what we need to process. Please make sure that you are checking the charts for your altitude and for how long you need to process jams and jellies. If you are using Sure-Gel, like I do, all of that information comes in the Sure-Gel packets for you to reference. You can also do a quick Google search and it will tell you. So we process for 10 minutes. I turn the canner off. I set another timer for 5 minutes and we let everything cool in the canner for about 5 minutes. From there, I will remove them from the canner. I want to keep them, when I pull them out, you want to pull them straight out. You don't want to tip them sideways or anything like that. Pull them straight out. Yes, you will probably have some water on the lid. That is perfectly fine. It will evaporate and dry, I promise. Pull them straight out, put them on your counter on a towel for 24 hours for them to cool down and finish setting. This time when I did it, the jam did not set while it was in the canner. Sometimes I have that happen, sometimes I don't. It set after they cooled, which was perfectly fine. So they sat on my counter for about 24 hours. I removed the bands and then labeled all of the jars that they were strawberry jam. And then I put them into storage. I actually made 2 batches of strawberry jam, which is not quite enough to get us through the year, but I am planning on doing peach jam and maybe blueberry as well. So between all of that, we should be able to get through an entire year. If you guys are interested in canning and ready to get started with canning, making jams and jellies is a great place to start. I have a whole guide on how to get started. I will leave that link below for you. And if you want more canning videos, more information about canning, I will leave a playlist here for you. And you can also visit our website, which is linked below. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us at the farmhouse today, and we will talk to you soon.